So good morning, afternoon, or night, everyone. Welcome to your first class. So today we're doing the Toolbox Chapter 1 of the Specialist course. Right, so the toolbox just consists of circles, ellipses, hyperbolas, as well as your regions, some parametric equations involving those circles, those three graphs, and then we'll do a little bit of trigonometries. Right, so this should take you only 2 days to complete and enjoy the ride. Right, so let's start with the first one, circles. So you would be familiar with circles already. The equation, the general equation of a circle is as such: x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Right, so let's just go straight to class example 1. Circle isn't that hard. Step number 1 when you're sketching a circle, or when you're asked to sketch a circle, is always find the center. In this case, center is 2, -1. Just follow the equation. So 2 is h, center is hk, -1, because this is +1, that's negative. And then the second step is find your radius. In this case, it's 2. And afterwards, you can easily just sketch your graph. Center is 2, -1. Right, so what I like to do is step number 3 when sketching the graph is from the center point, you have what I call the vertical and horizontal radius. So vertical radius is just, you take -1, add it with the radius 2, so -1 plus 2 gives us 1. So it gives us 1. Then -1 minus 2 gives us -3, so that's 1. So horizontal radius, we have 2. Plus 2 is 4. Then 2 minus 2 is 0. Right here, 0. Right, so what this does is it gives us the shape of our circle. So you can easily sketch a circle right here. If they ask you to find the x and y intercept, you can just let x or y equals to 0 and you should be able to get those. Right, so moving on to class example 2. Sketch x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 6y minus 12 equals to 0. The problem with this question is it's not in our general formula, such as this with the bracket. So what do we do here? So what do? You complete the square. So after you complete the square, you'll get your general formula. Then you can start sketching a circle. Right, so to complete the square, just group the x together, x squared plus 4x, and you group the y together, x, and you can bring 12 there, or you can just leave it, your choice. Right, so completing the square, x squared plus 4x plus half of 4, so you have the coefficient in front of 4, in front of x, you get 2. Square of that, you get 4. Then you subtract that as well because 4 came out of nowhere. Then you do the same thing with y. So half of 6 is 3, and then square of 3 is 9. You plus 9, but you also have to minus 9, and you get 12. Afterwards, you can put a bracket here so you can visualize it. X squared plus 4x plus 4, you can write in this form. And y squared minus 6y plus 9, you can write in this form. Right, and then there you go. You just just simplify it, bring numbers on the other side. So 4 and 9, -13, bring it to 12, you get 25. So you can proceed to step number 1, center, in this case is -2, 3. And radius is root 25. Make sure it's not 25, you have to root whatever number's here. In this case you get 5. Right, so once you got those 2 steps, you can easily start sketching your graph. Right here, I'll put -2, 3 somewhere up here, that's our center. Then you can use step number 3, which is the center, and then your vertical and horizontal. So in this case, radius is 5, so let's start with our horizontal. -2 to the left gives us -7. -2 to the right plus 5 gives us 3. And you got your 2 horizontal dots. Then you go vertical. 3, not -2, we take 3 plus 5 gives us 8. Then 3 minus 5 gives us -2. So those are our 4 dots. And you can just join them up. Very simple. And you get your circle. Nicely done. The only difference between this class example and this class example is to complete the square. The sketching part follows the same steps. Right, so moving on from circles, we'll do ellipses. Ellipses is just a it's just another kind of circle, although the difference here is ellipses have more than just one radius. The radius of a circle is always the same, so r can be 5, whatever. But for an ellipse, the radius, we take two radius, a and b. So this is called the major axis, and this is the minor axis. So whichever one's the smaller one is the minor, major is whichever one's the longer one. Okay, so the general equation of ellipse, very similar to circle, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. That's the same thing, that's the same as circle. So these two, same as circle. The only difference now is instead of having equals to r squared, we have equals to 1, and there's going to be denominators a squared and b squared. So a squared is this, the horizontal radius, and b squared is the vertical radius, right here. Okay, so when we're sketching an ellipse, it follows the same step. We have to always, step number 1, find the center, hk. Step number 2, we find what a is, and find what b is. Then number 3, just use your vertical, horizontal like last time. So same thing as circle, the only difference is step number 2. Instead of radius, there's a and b now. Right, so class example 3. Sketch 3x squared plus 24x plus y squared plus 36 equals to 0. If you want to have a go, you can pause the video here, or if not, you can just continue along. What do you do? Once again, just complete the square. Right, so how do you complete the square for this? I'll just zoom in so we can get more writing space. When you're trying to complete the square, but the number in front of x or y, the coefficient is not 1, then you have to factor it out because we cannot complete the square when there's a number aside from 1 in front of x squared or y squared. In this case, we take 3 out of x, so 3 over here, and over here we get 3 times x squared plus 8x. Then you have y squared, don't worry about y squared, equals -36. You can leave 36 on the left if you want, but it's your choice. Right, afterwards, just complete the square normally. Ideally, you should put another bracket here to avoid confusion. We'll see later on. 8x, right, so half of 8 is 4, square is 16. Then you have plus y squared equals -36. Okay, so moving along. We multiply 3 inside the bracket, so 3x squared plus 8x plus 16. You can complete this if you want. And here's where everyone gets it wrong. You have to also multiply 3 by 16. If you did not put these brackets right here, you might forget to multiply 3 by that 16. Plus y squared equals to -36. And you should get 3x plus 4 squared plus y squared. And we bring 48 over here, you get 12. Right, we're not done yet. This is not the form of an ellipse. What number do we see here? We see a 12. We should see a 1. An ellipse always has a 1. So how do you get 12 into 1? Just divide both sides by 12. You get x plus 4 squared divided. So 3 divided by 12 gives us 4. So we bring 12 divided on the left side. And same thing with y. Y squared divided by 12 equals to 1. And there you go. That gives us the ellipse form. So once you got that, you can easily sketch your ellipse. Step number 1, find your center. In this case, -4, 0. Just take the numbers out of the bracket. Step number 2, radius is, we don't have a radius, just remember that. We take a, which is root of 4. So a is always the horizontal, which is the x. and we also take b, which is root of 12. Right, so root of 12 should give us 2 root 3. Right, so step number 3 is you can start sketching your graph and then just use your vertical horizontal. Right, sketching our graph over here. Center is negative 4, 0. I'll put the dot there, negative 4, 0. Okay, then step number 3, use your horizontal vertical. So A, this time the radius is different for the vertical and the horizontal, so just be careful. A is 2, so we move 2 here all the way to negative 2. Then we move 2 to the left all the way to negative 6. Then you also have the vertical. In this case, the vertical is different. Vertical is 2 root 3. So not 2, 2 root 3. So it moves up here. We get 2 root 3. Then we move down here. We get negative 2 root 3. So 0 plus 2 root 3, 0 minus 2 root 3. And you can just sketch a circle, which should give you this. Just connect the dots. Yep. And there you go. Sketching an ellipse. If you have any questions, just go ask the Facebook community chat. And alright, so for this video, this will be our last one, hyperbolas. So much like circles or ellipse, the shape of hyperbola, much not like circles or ellipse, is very different. It's more like a inverted parabola, and then you just have 2 of them. So it looks like this, and the general equation is very similar to an ellipse. The only difference is this minus right here. For an ellipse, you have a positive sign. For a hyperbola, you have a negative sign. So the radius, or not the radius, the number on the right side is still 1. A is still under x, and b is still under y. Right. Now, the thing with hyperbolas are, there are asymptotes. So y minus k equals plus minus b of a, x minus h. So you just have to memorize this. It's just the asymptotes, which are these. There should always be 2 asymptotes when you're sketching hyperbolas. Right, let's move on to class example 4. I'll show you how to sketch hyperbolas. Might be a bit new to you, but should be alright. So, step number 1, always the same. Same as circles, same as ellipse. Find your center. Hyperbola might not have a center from the look of it, but theoretically you can call this point right here a center. Okay, step number 2, you have to find what a and b is. So very similar to ellipse again. A equals to 1, b equals to 1. The reason why is we already have a 1 here, so this is over 1 square. So an imaginary 1, they took it out. And that's it. Okay, now step number 3, we have to find our asymptotes. So remember, our asymptotes have this general equation right here. Y minus k equals plus minus, remember, plus minus b over a x minus h. So y minus k is y plus 2, because that's our y minus k. Just take the number inside the bracket, chuck it in here. Then you always have plus minus b over a. This is b, this is a is horizontal, b is the vertical. Then x minus h, so x minus 1. And we expand that, we have plus minus x minus 1. So y plus 2 equals to x minus 1. So you should have 2 equations. Negative x plus 1. So y equals to x minus 3. And y equals to negative x, bring 2 over here. We get minus x minus 1. Okay. Now we can proceed to sketching our graph. Sketch x minus 1 square minus y plus 2 square equals 1. Very simple. All you have to do, get your center, 1, negative 2. So let's assume this is 1. That's negative 2. This is your center right here. Okay, number 2. What I like to do with hyperbolas, when we're sketching hyperbolas, is we do our asymptotes first. So x minus 3, just think, okay, x minus 3, that's a linear line. Y equals x minus 3. Where should that be? One set is negative 3. So your asymptotes is a linear line, and it has this form. Just make sure you write it. Y equals x minus 3. So tick that one. Then we have another asymptotes, minus x minus 1, right? Minus 1 minus x has this shape. There we go. So the tip here is your asymptote should cross at the center. So wherever the center is, that's where your asymptotes should cross. Right, so we got the center and we got the asymptotes. Now we just need this and that, so the shape. How do we draw the shape? You might ask. Not very hard, just follow the line. So another tip here I like to do is from your center, will you add the center, the horizontal, so component, the x value, 1 over here, add it with the a value, the horizontal value, denominator, 1. So 1 plus 1 gives us 2, somewhere here. 1 plus 1 minus 1 is 0, somewhere here. And those points should be these points, the points closest to your center. And the rest is just follow the line, follow the asymptotes I made. You can put an arrow if you want. And just sketch it. Oh, just make sure your your graph never touches the asymptotes, because that's what an asymptote is for. Right. So not a good looking graph, but you should be able to sketch it perfectly on your books. Right. So that's it for class example 4, and the last class example for today's video. Sketch y squared minus 2y minus x squared minus 2x equals to 2. Right, first thing you see is this does not have brackets, so it's not of this form at all. So what do we do? Starts with C, ends with the square, so that is complete the square. Yeah, it's always complete the square, these kinds of equations. Whenever you see y squared, x squared, the first thing that should pop up to your head is circle, ellipse, and hyperbolas. Okay, so completing the square in this case, we just take y squared minus 2y, so y in front. Right, so 2, half of 2 is 1, square of 1 is still 1, and then you have to minus 1. You do the same thing with x, although when I'm doing x, I like to do this. Because there's a negative in front of x, put a bracket here, change that to a positive. So in this case, we still have the bracket, we still have x squared, positive 2x, so complete the square this way, plus 2x plus 1, then minus 1 equals to 2. Right, so once you got this, you go, okay, these three terms, yep, they look very familiar to me. I've done methods, I've done maths for the past 10 years of my life, so you should be able to do that. And then you also look at this and you see this. Ah, very nice. X plus 1 squared. But the problem here is, okay, there's a minus. Then there's also another minus. So we have a positive equals to 2. So this way we're expanding the brackets already. Alright, so after this you just go y minus 1 squared x plus 1 squared equals to minus 1 plus 1 eliminates each other, so you only have 2 left. Okay, now what does this look like? Y minus 1 minus, so this sign right here, this minus, shows us it's a hyperbola. Not a circle, not an ellipse, hyperbola, because there's a minus sign. Right, but the problem is, okay, our hyperbola here has x in front, and then minus, then y. This one, we have y minus x, not x minus y minus x. What does that mean? It's still hyperbola, and the shape of this hyperbola looks like this. Yep, so it's just your hyperbola and then rotate it 90 degrees all the way over there instead. But it's not hard. All you have to do is same thing. Find the center, 1, negative 1. Oh, not 1, negative 1. My bad. It's negative 1. So remember the x value and then y value is 1. Then step number 2, find what your a is, find what your b is. So a in this case, not 1. Just be careful. If you write 1 and b is 1 just because you think it's here, that's the problem. We have 2 over here. We have to convert that 2 into a 1. So if you notice that, really great. You're doing great. If not, then it's fine, because it's meant to be a hidden trick in this video. But yes, your a value should be root 2. B should be root 2, because this is supposed to be 2, so root 2 squared is 2. Right, so once you do that, you can start sketching your graph. Center negative 1, 1, negative 1, 1. Right there, that's your center. Then you add root 2. So, oh no, not add root 2, I mean get your asymptotes first. So step number 3 is get your asymptotes. I'll just expand it over here so I can write more. Step number 3, to get our asymptote, we go y minus 1, so always y plus minus k, doesn't matter whatever is inside the bracket, equals to plus minus b over a. In this case, b is root 2, a is root 2, like we have over here, and multiply by x plus 1. Right, so in this case, you should get y minus 1 equals plus minus x plus 1. That should give you y minus 1 equals to x plus 1, and y minus 1 equals to x negative x minus 1. Right, so y equals to x plus 2, or y equals to negative x, and that's all, because plus 1, minus 1 cancels each other out. Right, so on to sketching the graph. We know our asymptotes is y equals to x plus 2 and y equals to negative x. So negative x, just look like this, pass through the origin. And x plus 2 looks something like this, your asymptotes. There we go, they always insert at the center, so that's a hint, a tip for drawing. Then you can do the strategy where your center, which is negative 1, or 1 in this case. Now, last time we added with the horizontal, the A component. So we took the left and right, right here, left, right. That's because the shape was, a left-right hyperbola. Now we have a up-down hyperbola. So instead of adding the A value, you add the B value instead to the Y value. So just think of it vertical, everything vertical. So 1 plus root 2 and 1 minus root 2. Root 2 is bigger than 1, so it should be below the x-axis. And you can just sketch your graph. And then you can also find your x and y intercepts if you want, if it's required. Right, there you go. And that's it for hyperbolas. If you have any questions, just ask the Facebook community chat, and that should be it for today. Next class, we will do regions, we'll do some parametric equations, and we'll cap it off at trigonometries. So thank you for watching this, and I'll see you next time.